All right, we are live and ready to go. I made some adjustments to my audio settings, and I think that they are going to result in some improvements. I noticed some audio clipping in my last stream, so I have looked at some settings, made some changes, and I think that that should do it. Also got a new overlay, so just wanted to make those little improvements. So we're going to pick up where we left off yesterday. So, excuse me. So, let's click continue. Get back into it. Sometimes failing a task can lead to more interesting results, it says. Okay, so last time we had some conversations with Calisteg and Aligarn, and they had some conflict over what they wanted to do. We're looking at fixing this resonance chamber, I think it's called. We're going to press J on the keyboard to go to the journal, and we're going to double check the journal entry because it's going to tell us what we need to do. So this is our main quest, the one that we received in the last time we played. So it says, I miraculously survived a fall from many kilometers above the Earth's surface, only to find myself in another unexpected situation. My only hope of stopping the Sorrow, the creature that hunts me, is to climb inside the crystal resonance chamber and activate the device. Unfortunately, the resonance chamber was badly damaged by my fall, so it'll need to be fixed. So we need to find a way to repair the resonance chamber, and we can click this little purple icon here. It gives us some details about the quest that we have here. Sorry. It says here, the two people who found me have conflicting opinions about where I should go for help. Aligarn suggested that I speak with the cultists of the Changing God, while Calisteg directed me to the Order of Truth. So we haven't made our decision in terms of what we're going to do. I have some problems with both of these groups. I'm not sure if I want to risk going to the cult folks because, well, it's a cult, and I'm worried about their fanaticism. And then the Order of Truth, it sounds like they might be... I'm not sure what they'll do in this circumstance. So we will see what we decide to do. Give me a moment. Okay, we are back. So yeah, we are going to find a way to repair this resonance chamber. So it had a little alert, as you could see earlier, when there was some new information. So as we get more information about this quest, and it is our main quest, so there will probably be a bit to do in that regard. We don't have any secondary quests yet, and I'm sure that we will get some as we go along. You can see that there's other options here, so we're going to be able to see our codex. So our codex is basically just information that we gather throughout the game. So we're going to be able to come here to find information about stuff that we find. So I can find information on my companion. So Aligarn, dour explorer and former Aeon priest, and living intricately designed tattoos that writhe across his forearms. Aligarn thinks you might be the Changing God. So we had those conversations with Aligarn and Calisteg, and so we know that he thinks we might be the Changing God. Calisteg thinks that we are a cast-off. I'm not sure what we are. I guess we'll find out as the game progresses. So we're the cast-off, so that's us. I guess that's a picture of us. Looks like a skeleton, but it's not. It's part of a suit that he appears to be wearing. As those who have been birthed by the Changing God's abandonment are known as cast-offs. Though it's speculated that a few hundred or more are scattered throughout the Sagas Cliffs in the wider Protectorate, no one knows how many there are. So, a little bit of information. I'm not going to go through all of this quite yet. We can see a little bit of information about our character here, so we can see our experience. We're at 40 experience, and we need to get to 180 in order to get to tier 2 or level up, essentially. Sorry, just adjusting. All right, so it tells us when we get XP in the game, how we use it here. So it says spend XP to purchase advancement steps for this character. Advancement steps allow you to improve a character's stats, skills, and abilities. So the same things that we did when we made the character in the first place. Every fourth advancement step purchased increases the character's tier, so that would be like a major level up, I guess. Unlocking new abilities, stats, and skill training. So here's our stats, our health, our might, our speed, our intellect. Max effort right now is 2. So even if we have a pool of 9 intellect, we can't just use them all. We're restricted to applying 2 to any checks that would rely on intellect in that case. Right now, we only have our unarmed attack. I'm assuming we're going to get a weapon pretty soon. We have no armor. We do have some resistance. So I talked a little bit earlier about understanding the mechanics of what these mean, and I didn't know exactly. But we encountered a little bit of armor when the Sorrow was in our mind, in the, what is it called? The place that we were, locations, the Labyrinth. Nope. Is that it? This is your mind is a strange place. Yes, the Labyrinth. So that initial starting place where we met the reflections and such. So we encountered the armor there, so it reduces physical damage taken. So most weapon attacks deal physical damage. Resistance reduces, so more like spell resistance. So it reduces energy, chemical, mental, and trans-dimensional damage, typically dealt by esoteries, which I have figured are spells, and ciphers. So these are your, basically, armor reduces physical damage, resistance reduces non-physical damage, typically spell damage. Evasion increases your chance to dodge weapon attacks. So I was onto something when I read about it last time. It doesn't sound like it applies to any spells. And then willpower increases your chance to, it's your resistance to spell attacks. Fettles, we have positive and negative fettles, so those are buffs and debuffs, and we have status effects. So right now we have none of these, but I'm sure that we will encounter them as we go through combat. We're not going to worry too much about our inventory and stuff right now. We'll get to that. We're going to look around a little bit. So tab button is your best friend. So now we've got the sarcophagus here. This is the resonance chamber that we need to repair, and it looks like we can interact with a number of things. So we've got the little hand that means that we can interact with these either devices or items or whatever on the floor. Something that we can loot here, and some things that we can look at and read about. So let's look around first. Let's see what's over here. Broken fragments of the dome's ceiling are scattered on the floor. They appear to be made of transparent synth. So I don't know what synth is yet. I'm sure we'll find out. But we did a lot of damage when we crashed, and we are seeing the results of that damage here. I guess I don't know if this was intact before. It says that we damaged it, and, well, that's too bad. It sounds like we need it. Oh. The flexible tubes that are attached to this machine appear to be later additions. Someone cobbled the device together, but its function is unclear. It looks like it is attached. It's hard to tell. There's a bunch of cables and stuff running through here, and some of them are damaged. It does look like it's attached to the resonance chamber, so who knows if it has anything to do with that. And what's this? Tiny glowing motes float through the interior of this tower. Each one is surrounded by much smaller nodes, like thousands of worlds circling their suns. So kind of a galaxy type look. We don't know what this is either. All right, well, let's go take a look at this. We're most interested in the resonance chamber, so let's take a quick look at this and see what we find. Go. A mechanical arm lies on the floor, presumably broken during your fall. Sparks pour from the arm's shattered housing, filling the air with a greasy stench. So, I would like to examine it first. Let's take a look. The sharply pointed apparatus that formerly toppled the device appears burnt out and useless, but the equipment in the base remains at least somewhat operational, as the constant stream of sizzling motes can attest. So we see that there's some kind of power going to this. They call them moats in this case. So I don't need to, well, let's see what happens if I examine it again. Sparks angrily leap to and fro amidst severed cables and other broken components. So I'm not going to scavenge anything yet. We'll check the sarcophagus itself. So I'm going to leave it alone.
Go.
Sunlight falls through the ragged hole in the roof onto the shattered resonance chamber. It is hard to believe that you did this, that you plummeted through the curve of the pale blue sky, crashed through the dome, and broke this delicate machine with your own body. It is hard to believe that you are still alive. I agree. It's a pretty high place. I wonder where we came from. 4 mechanical arms hang over the center of the device, above the cracked, semi-transparent crystal of the sarcophagus. The 5th arm lies broken on the floor among the scattered synth and crystal shards, and a metal ring surrounds the array, dented and broken by your impact crater. So that looks like this here is the metal ring. So I'm going to take a closer look at the sarcophagus, see what we see. The padded interior beneath the coffin's cracked lid looks like it was made for a human body. Despite the damage, you don't see any way to open it and get inside. You glance between the sarcophagus and the needle-like protrusions at the end of the arms above. It seems likely that using this chamber would not be a pleasant experience. Okay, well, yeah, there's these arms. They look kind of needle-like. I'm not sure what they're for, but yeah, it doesn't seem like it would be pleasant. So let's check out, well, we'll check out the sarcophagus again, see what happens. Maybe your imagination, but some of the cracks in the crystal seem shallower than they were before. So maybe it has some kind of self-repair mechanism similar to us. Let's check out the suspended arms. Cables run from machines along the dome's walls to the base of the suspended arms, each of which is capped with long needles aimed at the cracked, coffin-like chamber at the center of the platform. Gem-like lights flicker dimly at the bases of the arms. Okay, so it seems to be some kind of power going to them, and I'm not sure what the gems are for. Let's see what happens if we examine them a second time. Needle-like extensions at the end of the arms glitter in the dome's faint light. Number of lights at the bases of the arms have gone out. Okay, so some of the lights have gone out, probably something caused by the damage. Check out the metal ring. You feel the slightest hint of resistance every time you cross the ring, and now that you're paying attention, you note that your breath is echoing in your ears as though you were inside a glass dome. When you step outside the ring, the feeling passes. So there's some kind of energy in here. I wonder if we need a nylon sheath. What happens if we do it again? Rings, yeah, so it's a protective dome, it says, but it didn't seem to work very well against our plummet from the sky. Take a look at the shards. Jagged fragments of crystal are intermingled with synth from the shattered dome above. The crystal shards glitter in the light like captive suns. Pick up one of the crystal shards. We got a crystalline shard. So at the rim of the crater, you find a sliver of crystal, sharp as a dagger on one end and smooth on the other. It might make a usable, if somewhat crude, weapon. We'll look for other useful shards. You sort through the remaining pieces of crystal, but they are too small or too unwieldy to be of any use. Okay, so we're going to step away from the device. So let's check out our inventory. I'm going to press I on the keyboard. Okay, this is our first time visiting our inventory. All right, your inventory lets you view, equip, and manage items and equipment you find. It has a number of sections. So the inventory is over here. The equipment section is over here. The first is equipment, which contains any items equipped to the current character. Equipment includes melee and ranged weapons, shields, armor, ornaments, and such as rings and amulets, and bonded items. So I don't know what bonded items are. I remember encountering them, but I don't remember exactly what they are. Your backpack contains the items being carried by the current character. You can equip, inspect, or transfer items from it. Quest items contain any special items required for quests. Quest items cannot be discarded or sold, so you won't need to worry about accidentally losing one. Okay. Pretty common feature in video games that you can't get rid of important items. The final section shows the ciphers you are carrying and your cipher limit. Ciphers shown in the inner rings are highlighted in blue and are safe to carry. Those on the outer ring, highlighted in orange, are over your cipher limit and inflict negative effects as long as you're carrying them. You can use, sell, discard, or transfer them to another party member to get back under your cipher limit. So our ciphers are right here. Here's our backpack. Here's our equipment. So we have some clothing on. It does give us some resistance to esoteric attacks, so spell resistance, essentially. This is a special piece of clothing that is only usable by us, so only usable by the last cast off. And it is worth 12 monies. I don't know exactly. Okay, so we can right-click for details. This silky garment barely feels even lighter than it looks. Of course, that's not really surprising. You made this armor with your decisions. It is woven entirely from your thoughts, given shape by your intent, and it will protect you as you fight your enemies, as a nano does, from afar using your superior intellect and esoteries. So we talked a little bit earlier about, in our spell choices, in our esoteric choices, about probably not being up in the thick of things. I didn't increase my might at all, so I didn't gain any additional health, so I'm pretty squishy, and I didn't add anything to my speed either, so I'm not going to have as good of an evasion score for dodging those physical attacks. So we're going to rely on trying to stay away during combat and doing damage from far away, healing from far away, and doing some battlefield control and utility type esoteries spells. As fragile as the entire affair appears, you sense a humming field of energy clinging to it that will increase the connection speed between your brain synapses while passively repelling incoming attacks. So that's the resistance portion. All in all, it's an impressive set of armor. You have quite the imagination, it seems. So we are going to close that off. And then we recently just picked up this Crystalline Shard, which is now our weapon. So it does 2 physical damage, not a lot, plus 2 damage per effort applied to a maximum of 6. So we can only apply a maximum of 2 effort. So the maximum positive damage that we can, or damage that we can add, is 4. And we have a light weapon bonus, so plus 15% on weapon attacks. I don't know what that's a bonus to. If it's a bonus to hit, I think it is. You scavenge this crystalline shard from the wreckage of the Changing God's resonance chamber. It is sharp and can serve as an improvised weapon, which is what we are doing. It's worth quite a bit more than our armor. We're going to keep that equipped, obviously. It's the only weapon that we have right now, other than our spells, which we will be probably using more than our weapon. I'm not going to go through the character sheet or anything like that. We will go through that stuff later. So,
I'm going.
I think we already checked this guy out. Yep. But we didn't do anything with it, so I'm going to leave it alone. I'm going to loot over here, see if I find anything. Money. Called shins, apparently. So we're going to see that. Encephalic Rush. So this is a usable item. It heals 3 points of intellect, so it's going to restore our intellect pool, which is good. We need that. We use intellect in combat. Mostly intellect in combat. Let's see. This pliable synth container is tightly sealed, holding a swirling purple gas. The purple substance is harvested from a vast structure buried beneath the sands of the beyond, which seems to constantly replenish, though it is hard to gather. If the container is jammed hard against a surface, it becomes permeable, unleashing the gas within. The original purpose of the gas is not known, but when inhaled by a human being, it provides a rush of mental energy. So we are not going to use that yet. And then we have Fleetfoot Moss. So it is a consumable that we, a usable consumable item that we target an ally with, and the range is immediate. So I assume that means that they have to be right next to you, but I'm not sure. Heals 3 points of speed, and it consumes movement. This moss-covered pebble looks almost ordinary, and if it were lying on the ground, it would be difficult to spot. But the moss shifts in unexpected ways, and the pebble vibrates as it does. If held against the skin, the moss latches on and is absorbed, providing powerful resuscitating energies. These pebbles are found by diving into the waters around the Sagas Cliff, so maybe we can find some more if I can remember that. Grown by an unknown interaction with the surrounding Numenera. Okay, so when we get to the Sagas Cliffs, we will maybe take a look for some of these Fleetwood Moss pebbles. I'm going to take all, check out our inventory. I have both of those here in my backpack. I don't know if those will just come up when I want to use them. Here's our items. Here we are. So there's our usable items. And there's our items. And down here is our character abilities. So if we needed to heal right now, we could. But I'm not going to use any of those. We don't need to. We have both of them. We can see their stats down here. So Alagaran has quite a bit more health than us. He has 31 health. Might is 6. Speed is 2. Intellect is 6. So quite low speed, but a little bit higher might and decent intellect. And then Calisteg has 23 health, and she's like us. She's a nano, it appears. So she has a high intellect, but low might and low speed. Right. Well, I think that we're going to go over here and interact with this. Just examine it one more time. Nope. So, lore machinery. Unfortunately, this is not one of these skills that we chose to be proficient with. So, it's going to be a challenging check for us, but we're going to see what we can do. Effort. If you select a companion's portrait in the effort window, they can assist the last cast off with some challenges. Your companion's stat pools are used instead of your own, and they may have different skills, abilities, and statistics that make the challenge easier. Companions cannot assist in a crisis and can only use their stats during their turn. Okay, so for this one here, we're gonna check this out and see who has the best shot off the bat. So Calisteg has a 60%, we have a 60%, but Alagaran has a 75%. He doesn't have much speed, but I would like to, I'm going to up that to 95, and once you can't, there's no confirm button or anything like that. Once you choose the amount of effort, you're locked in. So we were successful, good thing at 95% chance. So taking care to avoid the sparks, you extract several handfuls of shiny trinkets and coin-like objects. You recognize their value at once. Such objects would be accepted as shins, the informal currency in most regions of the world. So you gather them up and take them with you. So we got an item, spray flesh, and we gained 18 shins, so money. I'm going to examine again, see if there's anything left. Probably not. So, yep, that's it. We have gotten everything we need from there. So let's take a look. We got the spray flesh. Let's see what this stuff is. So it's usable. It targets an ally. Value is 40 shins. It's a healing potion. So it heals 8 points of health. All right, great. And we have 30 shins. Shiny coin-like objects treated as currency in the 9th world. So it appears that we're in the 9th world.
Naturally.
All right, so last thing is whatever this device is. So let's take a look. A slate black, unimpressive device hunkers before you. As you reach out to touch it, the triangle of lights on its casting blazes into life, and an image unfolds in your mind. Towering crystal arch rises over the jagged gray landscape. The air is dead and stifling, and there, at its emerald peak, the image collapses, leaving you staring into the device's triangular array of lights. Command me, the device, or the intelligence within it says, each word carefully etched with distaste. So, it's asking us to command it. It doesn't appear to like us very much, though. So, let's see it gave us an image in our mind similar to the, as it says here. So we saw this towering crystal arch and the gray landscape. So I'm going to ask, what commands do you recognize? The three lights throb irritably. Heated air sighs from the device's vents, and then a towering list of commands races through your mind, far too fast to read. You rub your eyes, groaning, and the intelligence chortles. Command me, it says smugly. So, show me the command of lists again. Slower, please. If anything, the list pours through your mind even faster than the last time. Command me, the intelligence drawls. So let's see what happens if we go, who are you? Your command was not understood, the intelligence says with clear satisfaction, sounding for all the world like it understood the question but is choosing not to answer. Command me. So it appears that maybe this is an intelligent machine and maybe it knows who or what we are, and there might be a past history there. Maybe it's just like this with everyone. I don't know, but maybe we'll find out in the future. Let's see if it will show the arch again. Okay, the device's triangle of lights throb in time with the growl of engines within its casing, and the mental image unfolds once more. So it did show me the image again. You see a huge crystalline arch on a jagged field. The arch is divided into rectangular cells, all of which are numbered, and they appear to be transparent and empty, except at the arch's pinnacle. One cell is lit in a brilliant, pulsating emerald. The number 0 is printed on its side. So this arch is rectangular cells, and they're all numbered, and they appear to be transparent and empty, except for the pinnacle, the keystone, I guess, and the cell is lit brilliant pulsating emerald. So it's a green color, and its number is 0. So anamnesis, try to remember more details about this strange place, examine the jagged wasteland, or close the image. I'm going to try to remember. So this is an intellect ability. I'm going to, well, let's see. We might as well spend some of that intellect. The memory blossoms. You stand before this arch, eyeing the last 2 active cells in the once impenetrable Lugumvo. Unleash cell 29, you say, and a twisted artifact appears before you. You claim it with a faint smile, watching the light fade from the cell far above. So it sounds like this is a command, but I'm not sure. So it's cell 29. You flinch from the memory, and it falls apart as you raise your eyes to the arch as it is now. Cell 29 is dark now. Only cell 0 remains. I'm going to examine the jagged wasteland. Dry grit whirls across the empty plain. Many kilometers beyond the arch is a faint outline of what seems to be a broken tower, except that it is slowly stretching into the gray air. Examine it again, see if we notice anything else. Far beyond the arch, the broken tower reaches for pale, red-threaded clouds. Okay, we're going to close the image of the arch. So, you release your mental hold on the image of the arch, and it collapses, returning you to reality. Command me, the intelligence says sulkily. So, I think it realizes that we found something out. So, we are going to examine the outside of the device first. As an indignant hum rises from the intelligence engines as you examine its ancient casing. So this is an old machine. Nothing looks out of the ordinary. You step back, and the hum fades away. So we're going to ask it to unleash the contents of Cell 0. Oh, ciphers. You found a cipher. Ciphers are Numenera objects that can trigger a powerful effect, but can only be used once. Ciphers and your cipher limit score are displayed in a special section of the inventory screen. We saw that earlier. Take care not to accumulate more ciphers than your cipher limit, or you will experience unpleasant side effects. Okay. The device's lights flutter with incandescent shock, then focus on you, flickering. Cell 0 will now be unleashed, the intelligence spits. Please be advised that the object you are about to receive is completely safe. Use no caution whatsoever. The strange contents of Cell 0 materialize before you. Warning, all cells are now vacant. Shuddering Lugum Vo. The intelligence's lights wink out one by one. So we got some experience, XP, and we gained an item, which is the Unstable Detonation. Alagern says, interesting that a cast-off can command the changing god's machines. He crosses his arms across his chest. How'd you do that? Callisteg rolls her eyes at Alagern. Then she looks at you. He'll never stop gnawing on this bone, you know. The truth is wasted on him. She gets a glint in her eye. Though I admit curiosity, how did you do that? So I will say, I remembered something. I knew it, Alagern says, bearing a savagely triumphant grin at Callisteg. Meaningless, Alagern. He clearly has basic skills and knowledge from the changing god having been in his body. Who's to say there aren't even more specific memories locked away in there? So she is thinking, how many memories might this child have access to? I must know. So she wants information from us. She's curious. All right, so fortunate for us, we got a Cypher. So we're going to go to our inventory and check that out. So here it is. We're going to right-click for some details, and it is Unstable Detonation. So the target is all in immediate area. So if this is, it looks like it does damage. Yes, it does. And we need to be careful when we use it because it says all in the immediate area, which presumably includes our allies. So it deals 6 energy damage, 4 physical damage to all characters in range. So that's 10 damage total, minus any resistances or armor. So it's a simple and effective explosive. Devices like these have been the bane of many who've had the misfortune of encountering them. Cobbled together from junk and Numenera, this detonation can have wild and unexpected effects when hurled at the enemy. Rumors have it that most of the unlucky victims of these devices were the people trying to use them, for their instability makes them just as dangerous to their owners as to their enemies. Okay, so we can hold 5 Cyphers, and we have 1 now. So it's basically a grenade, a bomb. And I wonder if that shows up under our items. It does. We probably have to be... Okay, only usable during combat. There we go. All right, great. So I think we've gotten everything we can from here. Let's see if we can get anything else from this machine before we go. Nope, just crackle. So it is time to go. All right, and we're outside. We are going to take a quick break, so we will be right back after this 5-minute break. See ya. All right, we are back. So, we are outside of this space where the residence chamber was located. So let's see what it says. This jagged hole is where you crashed through the dome, so this is where we hid. It looks like it's made of some kind of ceramic or clay roofing, maybe stone, but it's a wonder we didn't die. So quite the landscape we find ourselves in. There appears to be some buildings underwater here. I don't know if they were originally underwater or if they ended up underwater over time. So maybe there's some things that we can find. So we'll take a look around.
Fine.
Looks like there's some kind of effect here where these stairs are attached to this building. It doesn't look like they were originally part of whatever this structure was. So we'll interact with these in a moment. I'm going to look at... Well, actually, yeah, let's do that first. So down here, The water is clear, almost unnaturally so, revealing ruins upon ruins as far as you can see. So I don't know if that means depth or looks like it's a little deeper over here, or just how wide it goes out into the distance.
All right.
All right, let's see what these guys are. Two floating cones whirl and spin deliriously around each other, giggling like children being tickled. The air around them smells of sweet, burning leaves. So we're going to ask, what are you? Cones continue whirling and laughing like enraptured dancers, giving no sign that they've heard you. What are you for? The cones greet your question with a split second of hushed silence, followed by delighted peals of helpless giggling. So, it seems that they can hear us, but they are largely ignoring us. Allegorn says, they aren't for anything. They're from one of the worlds before this one. Allegorn rubs a hand along his stubbled jaw. Sometimes the Numenera do something useful. Sometimes they'll turn you inside out. And sometimes they don't do a damn thing that makes any sense. Callisteg says, I've often said the same thing about you, darling, Callisteg murmurs. I'll try speaking to them again, see what happens. Childlike laughter is their only response. So I'm going to watch for a pattern. Something happened, so... Oh, we gained experience. The longer you stare at these artifacts, the more you're convinced that they turn faster when their spiraling paths cross each other. Lore mystical, so their edges seem to trace faint glowing lines that twine around each other, resembling a rope fastened to some invisible point beyond this time and space. So there seems to be something in another dimension, a trans-dimensional space or something, that is guiding these. So that's interesting. So let's see what happens if I try speaking to them after that. No, nothing. We did gain some experience, so that's good. Let's try touching one. Why not? So it's speed. He's at 90. It doesn't seem to make a difference who I choose. So we'll choose ourselves, and we'll go with the 90%. See what happens. Success! You manage to graze one of them with the tip of your finger. Roarn, a voice says, and your vision is stolen from you. A moon hangs over you, but it is not the one you recognize. It's black and in a pearl-white sky. Thick, flat asteroids orbit it like petals in the wind. You feel questing tendrils at your ankle, and the hot wind on your face smells of scorched hair and grief. We got some more experience. Your vision returns. The cones hang motionless for only a second before resuming their giggling dance. See what happens if I speak to them again. Nope, nothing. So we're going to leave them. We got some experience there, so let's check out our character sheet. So we're at 47 experience points. We need 180. So here we're in our character sheet now, so we can see our abilities that we chose when we created our character. We have our innervate, which is it's the heal, plus it removes negative debuffs. I should just say debuffs. And onslaught are essentially our basic damage spell. And our abilities here. These are our exploration skills. What does concentration do? So it says here, mitigates penalties for equipped bonded artifacts. So we don't have any bonded artifacts yet. I'm sure that we will find some. So we'll see what happens. So at novice, we are trained. So bonded artifacts equipped to the first slot do not confer a negative effect. And then, when we're specialized, if we end up going that route, then we can have 2 slots without a negative effect. And we have our Cypher use. We already looked at some of these here, so we're not going to go into those. We have some inabilities, intimidation, medium, and heavy as well. And then these here are all the same as we were before. We do have some resistance. I believe that's conferred to us by our armor. So that's 3 resistance. Yes, it is. So we haven't picked up anything else, but we did get some experience from that interaction, and we learned a little bit of something about what was going on. I wonder if in our journal, if there's anything about that interaction. So nothing here. Maybe it's in the codex. Let's see. No, there doesn't appear to be anything in the codex. And yeah, it didn't say anything about it being updated. So I don't think that we can't go back and check that out. I wonder if we can check any chat logs. This is our inventory. Again. No, it doesn't appear I can bring up a chat log. Maybe there's a hotkey that I'm missing, but okay, what are these? Let's loot. Some money, shin, a Fleetwood moss like we have, and a usable item. So, Elutriated Force. It targets an ally and it heals 3 points of might. So we're going to take all of those. Looks like we can do something over here. So let's go check these out. So these are interesting looking. It says a tangled cluster of metallic tendrils grows from the depths of the nearby water. Strangely, they resemble clawed alien hands, most of which have 7 or 8 fingers. I'm going to examine it, as I always do. I like to check stuff out first. The hands sway softly, but their movements are difficult to follow. Watching them for too long makes you feel nauseous. Apart from the hands themselves, you don't notice anything of interest in the cluster. What happens if we do it again? Nope, nothing else. So, let's try to break off one of these hands. I'm going to see if he can help me out here. He has more might, so yeah, let's expend it all. Let's use it. We have some potions that we can use to restore if we feel like we need to, so let's do it. All right, success. You grip the hand nearest to you and snap it from its roots. Stepping back, you give it a couple of experimental swings. Good balance. It might make a decent weapon. So we gained an item, an 8-fingered mace. So, Allegorn says, you aren't happy unless you're breaking things, are you? Well, actually, I had you do it, Allegorn. So, let's see what happens if we examine it again. Nope, nothing. Try pulling another hand. You wrap your hands around one of the wrists and pull with all your strength. Eventually grasping, you give up. Tendrils seem thicker and stronger now, as if they fortified themselves against you. We're going to walk away. Let's check out our inventory. Check out this weapon. So, it is a medium melee weapon. It's, I guess, fairly valuable. I don't really have any gauge or different values yet. I don't know what's worth a lot and what's not, but it's worth quite a bit more than anything else that we have yet. So, it does 4 physical damage and 3 chemical damage. So this is pretty cool. I think we aren't going to use it, but we'll get to that in a moment. It says, this metallic object resembles a clenched 8-fingered hand attached to a forearm. You snapped it off a metallic tendril in the Reef of Fallen Worlds. So, I guess that's where we are, is the Fallen Worlds. Given the ruins, that doesn't surprise me that this is an ancient place that we're in. It has a decent heft and balance, and its steely material is powerful enough to deal significant damage, but it's only a makeshift weapon and is somewhat clumsy to use. So I'm not going to use this. I don't really use weapons, so we're going to take this and transfer it. I think I just drag it to, there we go, to Allegorn, and yes, that's true. Now, he has a weapon. Its value is 15. I like to kind of gauge how good a weapon is by its value. So it does 4 physical damage, and then we can increase the damage by applying effort. Now, like us, he can only apply a max effort of 3. So in an attack, we could do a maximum of 3 effort, which times 2 is 6. So that would be all that we can do with that. So it appears that this one here is better. It does 4 physical damage and plus the 3 chemical damage, and we can apply the effort as well. So it is better for us to, I wonder if I double click. Yep, double clicking will change that. See if I can. Okay, so here we can see a meter of their opinion of us. So Allegorn likes the cast off. So does Calistig. Cool. All right, and then we got so this heals might, and since we're a mage and I'm going to be healing and kind of back from combat, I think a lot of the time I'm going to want to hold these items so that I can use them on, well, maybe, we'll see. Maybe I'll give this to Allegorn, actually, so that he has it in his items. What happens if no, I don't have to equip that anywhere. And then what does the other one do again? That one is 8 points of health. So I'm going to keep that for myself. I want to have a healing potion for myself. And then this one here, what does it do again? Heals 3 points of speed. So I'm going to... Can I split it up? hope I didn't use that. I think I did. Oh, nope. It would be to use it on someone, so I'm going to cancel by right-clicking. I don't know how to split stacks, but we'll get to that later. Okay, so we got a weapon.
Of course.
And we can do something with this guy here, too. Check it out. A matte black obelisk floats in midair above the water. It has sharp, curved sides that converge to a glowing tip that brightens or dims with the passing of the bay's faint breezes. All right, well, I'm going to touch it. You raise your hand towards the obelisk. Dull green light wells from within the black stone, fixed on you like a furious eye. I knew someone who did what you're about to do, Algern says casually. Aeon Priest. A beam came out of the top of that thing and ripped his face off. Made a fancy night light out of his crystal necklace, though. But hey, I'm sure you know what you're doing. So he's warning us. Apparently he's interacted with this before. Oh, hush. At least that poor priest died in service of his curiosity rather than stumbling about the coast complaining and feeling sorry for himself. I think referring to Algern. Go ahead if you must, she tells you, ignoring Algern's glare. But do be careful. So, I'm going to stretch my Crystal Shard towards the obelisk. Let's see what happens. Carefully, you level the shard at the obelisk, and a superheated beam lances from the tip of the structure into the crystal, sending vibrations up your arm and suffusing the shard with a warm, green glow. Hey. So we got some experience there, and it sounds like I can talk to Algern, but let's check out our inventory, see if anything happened. Ooh, so it did. Infused Crystalline Shard, so its value went way up. It's now, I think, more valuable than that mace that we have. How much valuable was that mace? 128. So yeah, so it went up quite a bit. So now it does 3 physical damage, and we get more damage per effort applied. I think it was 2 before. And we can get a higher maximum as well. And we still have the 15% on weapon attacks. So it is sharp and conserved. So in the Reef of Fallen Worlds, a superheated beam from a mysterious black obelisk struck the shard, infusing the crystal with the obelisk's power. Cool. All right, great. So we upgraded our weapon by doing that. I wonder if there's anything else we can do with this. I don't know if I want to touch it again. He gave us a warning. Let's talk to Algern and see what he says.
This is the Reef of Fallen Worlds, kid. It's a dangerous place at the best of times. And with you lighting up the sky as you fell, well, we should get out of here as soon as possible.
Why were you looking at me when you said that? I wasn't, he growls. Don't be so paranoid. But when she isn't looking, he raises his eyebrows at you knowingly. Let's ask, what makes the reef so dangerous? The Numenera of the past are always dangerous, but there are other dangers too, some closer than others. Algern's thinking, I hate to think what Callistag might do to him if I weren't here, so similar to what she had thoughts about him. So they're obviously very distrustful of one another, and they both think that each has the worst intentions. And I'm not sure, what he's wary of, if there's like a danger aspect to this, or if perhaps he just thinks that she would be callous towards me and disregard things that are important for my well-being, So, let's see. What are the Numenera? We don't really know yet. You want me to tell you? He laughs without mirth. The Numenera are all around you. Everything left over from the prior worlds. Thagus Cliffs thrives by trading artifacts from ancient civilizations. Hells, you can't scoop a handful of earth without finding drit from prior worlds mixed with it. So it seems that there's a really rich history and a lot of past here, and it looks like that in the environment that we're in here. It seems very cobbled together from bits and pieces of the past, and we're going to take a closer look at that and see if we can see anything else that's interesting. Numenera is anything from the prior worlds, but mostly we mean the stuff of value to us. A lot of the Numenera are just oddities, fancy trinkets with little real use, but sometimes you'll get a Cypher that lets you do something incredible. Artifacts are worth even more. A Cypher will only do something once, but artifacts last longer, though they can burn out at the most inconvenient times. He frowns. Not that it's ever happened to me. So, he apparently is aware that they can burn out at the most inconvenient times when he's speaking of an artifact, and he says it hasn't happened to him, but I don't know if we believe him here. Of course, we've got no idea what most of this junk was originally intended for. In most cases, it doesn't really matter. Like you might find what used to be a propulsion unit for a star chariot, but who the hell knows enough to build the rest of it? Better to use it as a weapon or a power source. He scowls, frustrated about something. I bet we could remake the world if we knew a tenth of the secrets of the ancients, but most days it's a challenge just to survive. So it seems like it's a fairly hostile world that's left over. I don't know what happened to these ancient civilizations. So, what's dangerous about this reef? Numenera and scavengers, boy, it's hard to say which is more unpredictable. Well, let's see. Can you tell me about your tattoos? These, they're nothing. Call them a consolation, if you must. He smiles grimly. Some call them by worse names, but that's because they've had occasion to run afoul of these little snakes. He looks away. This line of questioning is clearly at an end, so he's not interested in talking more about his tattoos. And when he talks about running afoul of these little snakes, it seems like they have some effect. He can maybe make use of them in some way. It says, my gift and curse, they remind me of it every day. So a gift and a curse, obviously something, it's very visible and obvious on him, but it seems like it's used past. All right, why? Let's ask him about Calliste, because I'm curious about this relationship. So he says, a parasite disguised as a Skullark. Don't be surprised if she betrays you before the day is done. Actually, that would be slow for her. So it sounds like he's speaking from experience, but once again, I don't know if he's a reliable narrator. So he may feel slighted, but we don't know her side of the story in this case. So why are you traveling with her? He clenches his mouth shut, and you can see his jaw muscles working. She said she could help me with a problem I had. We never seemed to get anywhere with my business, but found plenty of time for hers. He looks you square in the eye. It wasn't something I'd care to do again. Keep that in mind when you talk to her. Okay, so it sounds like she didn't hold up her end of the bargain, but once again, we're not sure how true that is. What do you think we should do next? You want to fix that crystal chamber back there, yeah? First step is getting out of this reef. So we're going to kind of make our way out of this reef quickly. I'm going to explore it pretty thoroughly here. We'll ask him one last thing. What's your story? Ask me again when we get out of here. I don't trust this damned reef any more than the company we keep. So, let's keep going. All right, so we've already interacted with everything here. It looks like there's some stuff over here. Let's take a look at this. A yawning intake marks the front of a long-dead construct. Inside, the metal is pitted, black, and ancient. So if we want to zoom in and take a look. So we've got here, you can use the middle mouse button, your mouse wheel, to pan around more slowly. So I'm just holding the middle mouse button here on my mouse. And then you just hold it like a button, and I'm able to scan, because the scroll speed is very, very fast. And I tried turning it down, but it's actually at its lowest setting. So this here construct appears to be quite old, and then there's this black ooze that we can interact with. So let's see what happens. A bubbling mass of sludge floats on the surface of the water. Every once in a while, an oily nodule separates from it and hurtles into the sky. You catch momentary glimpses of a muck-coated object in the putrid mass. I'm going to examine the sludge, see what we get. Carefully, you lean closer to the heaving mass. After a moment's study, you notice that the globules rising into the sky always contain something, be it a shining core of untainted seawater or a tiny fish. So I'm going to do quick fingers, attempt to retrieve the object trapped in the sludge. So I can go ahead and do this. Let's see if anybody else... He doesn't have any speed left, and he has the same chance that we do. I have quite a bit of speed. She has some speed. but she has a better chance. So let's make use of her speed right now and get something. The next time sunlight strikes the object's streaked surface, you're ready. You snatch it from the oily mass and clean it as best you can. We got fresh vapors, so we'll check that out in a moment. Calistag. I'm not sure whether that awful muck is harmless or you're immensely lucky. Either way, do go on poking things, dear. It's quite entertaining. Let's search for more objects. Why not? Nothing else. Let's wait for more treasures. We're going to do this a few times. Nothing surfaces. Oh, at last your patience is rewarded when an unusual object bubbles to the surface. Before it can sink out of sight, you snatch it up. And we got a Tar River globe and some experience, which is great. Found a veritable filth-stained trove. Well done, dear. Let's see if there's anything else. I don't think so. You wait, you watch patiently, but nothing else comes up. Okay. We're going to leave. I'm not going to do that forever. I'm sure if we sat and pressed the button a bunch, we might get one other thing, but I'm not going to sit here for that. So, we got a few things. We got, did she get that? Spray flesh. Oh, right. One was a Cypher. So, it automatically equips, it looks like. So, fresh vapors. The target is self. And it heals 10 points of intellect and confers fresh vapors, which is a +1 intellect edge. I don't know what the edge means. I don't know if that's a temporary buff to effort or something like that. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe it'll describe it here. Let's see. There's 5 uses, which is great. It consumes our action in combat, so we won't be able to attack or anything like that. So, a simmering jar made of metallic glass. Inside the jar rests a strange miasma. Its vapors sit crystalline and perfectly still until held. The glass vessel twists and writhes when grasped. When you put your ear to the device and listen closely, sounds of weeping and hysterical laughter rise from within. Warm to the touch, once inhaled, the vessel becomes ice cold. The user feels panic, fear, nausea, and then sweet relief, a torrent of emotions akin to getting a full rest. So hopefully we find out what this intellect edge means. Maybe it's in the codex. Is there anything in the codex about that? Nope, sure isn't. Okay, and then we got the Tar River globe, so it's an oddity. It's worth 105 shin. This transparent glass sphere encloses a miniature scene of a river of tar running through a wasteland. It also contains a mystical blue liquid, which seems like it would mix with the tar if the globe were shaken. You notice ancient, indecipherable writing around the outer base. So, it's an oddity. Maybe we just sell it. I'm not sure. It's like a snow globe, but it's a Tar River globe. So, interesting. Okay, great. I think that's all that we can do in this area. Let's check out what this guy here is. A cable connects the spout to the collection device. The nozzle looks like it may have been attached to another machine at some time. So this nozzle here, I don't know if it's doing anything. Cable connects it. Okay, it's shooting at this fence here, as you can see. So that's interesting, and it's connected. I don't know if this is the cable it's talking about. I don't know if this is this here appears to be the collection device. I'm not sure if that's correct. This isn't moving. But anyway, it's shooting, and this fence appears to be stopping it. So let's make our way out. I'm going to scroll around, see if there's anything else that we can... Oh, we can maybe do something over here.
All right.
Yes, it looks... Okay, there's loot over here. Great. Glad I came over here. Great. So we got another... the Elutriated Force and the Encephalic Rush. Plus some money. Okay.
Here we go, then.
Anything we can do here? This metal door is thick, heavy, and unmarked by time. Double rows of circular bumps run horizontally and vertically across its surface. It is firmly sealed. Let's examine it more carefully. The metal surface is infused with minuscule threads that are barely visible to the human eye. They only run in straight lines and right angles. They seem to converge at the circular bumps. Upon closer inspection, you notice that each of the bumps is unique. Some have flat faces, others are actually many-sided polygons, and a few are marked by tiny apertures. Tiny openings, I guess. Unfortunately, you don't see anything that resembles a knob, a keyhole, or access device. You try touching both the flat planes of the door and the small bumps, but nothing happens. So let's examine it again, see if we notice anything. So the metal is infused with minuscule threads. They seem to converge at the circular bumps. Interesting. You don't find anything that seems to be an access device, and touching the door has no effect. So let's knock on the door. You knock lightly at first, then harder. The door makes no sound at all, nor does it shudder or yield. There's no one home, dear. Hasn't been for thousands of years. She peers at the door. One of my colleagues at the Order claimed that she got inside, but I don't believe her. Okay. Examine it one more time, see if we find anything. No. We're going to leave the door alone. Maybe we can come back to it later. That would be interesting. I like this building. I would like to see what's inside, but okay, let's check out what this here is. This device is collecting black goop from somewhere underwater and pumping it to the nearby spout. This guy here that is shooting, apparently, and blocked by this fence. So another one of these is over here. Let's examine it. A long cable extends from this spout, but at the point where it dips below the water, it's been snapped in half, so it's not shooting like this one here is. I wonder why that's the case. Let's examine this. Although this cube hovers in the air, you can feel the ground shudder with its vibrations. Don't know what this is. Cobalt petals fold over a short metal stem. Calcified minerals holds the ancient weapon closed. So this is for a weapon. This massive construct was trying to climb across the top of the reef when it died. Its surface is pocked with tiny scars and scorch marks. So this here, you can see it has some kind of legs or something here. It seems like this was an ancient fight that happened, and this device, maybe it was sentient machine, is damaged from the fight and stuck, frozen in time at this moment. And this appears to be some kind of weapon control. Holds the ancient weapon closed. Ah, maybe this is it here, the weapon, which we can interact with. What is this guy over here? The strange lines and rippling forms of the sunken buildings are dramatically different from the architecture above the waterline. So there's a difference when you are below the waterline versus above, and it did mention the layers of civilization that we've noticed. So there appears to be many ancient worlds that were here. Now, no one has built here for quite some time, as the most recent ruins are ruins. So, it sounds like it's dangerous. Here's another one of those, it seems like one of those machines that maybe was attacking whatever this thing here is. Alright, well, let's take a look. Sounds like combat music to me. Oh, another one of those guys over here. It seemed like it was a big fight. All right. So before we get into this, we're going to take a short break. I got to take a bathroom break and grab a drink. And we'll get into this conversation. And I feel like there's going to be some heated interaction here. I can tell by the music, a little bit of metagaming there. All right, great. We will be back in just a couple minutes. All right, we're back. So we walked on to whatever this machine was. It looks like a giant kind of battleship or a warship or something like that, and it was being attacked by these large scarab-looking machines. Perhaps perhaps they were sentient or piloted or something like that. They were crawling up all over this device. So it's some sort of ancient battle site that happened here. And we've encountered this group of people, perhaps scavengers, as Alagern, I believe it was Alagern, had alluded to previously when he talked about the dangers of the reef. So let's see what they have to say. So his name is Koro, I guess. As you step onto what looks like the back of an enormous construct, 4 strangers approach you. In the lead is a wiry man with parallel scars running from cheek to collarbone on the left side of his face. He gives you a welcoming smile, pulling on gray gloves embedded with pulsing lights. He's about to say something to you when he notices Callisteg. So scan thoughts, so we can read his thoughts here. We're going to know a little bit about what he thinks. He's the star, or he came out of it. But what does Cal have to do with this? So it sounds like he knows who Callisteg is. So they have some kind of previous relationship or knowledge of each other. So let's see. So it says he's the star or came out of it. So I think he's referring to us and when we fell. So it sounds like we came out of a star. We didn't really know what we came out of. It sounded, in the beginning, I seem to remember we were trapped in some kind of cocoon. So maybe if we were the changing god and we're a cast-off, or we're not sure exactly what that is, maybe there's a situation where we were in a resonance chamber and something went wrong. But I guess we'll see. Cal, I thought you swarm off trawling the reef. Found anything tasty? His eyes travel up and down both you and Alagern. Odds and ends, Koro. Nothing that would interest you, I'm sure. Her words are calm, but she has gone quite still. So, noticing her body language, it might be that she figures he is dangerous. She might be distrustful of him. It seems like a lot of people are fairly distrustful of one another. It seems like a bit of a dystopian world that's where you're constantly in danger and people are fighting for survival. So she thinks, what is he doing here? He has something up his sleeve. I know it. So yeah, we know by scanning his thoughts that he noticed us coming from the sky. Now, if that's why he came here, maybe that's why he came to this area. We don't know why he was in the reef in the first place. Maybe they noticed from far away, and that's why they came. But it's hard to know. He would have had to have been pretty close by. We've only been, we only crashed, maybe it was half an hour ago if it was in game time or something like that. So, I'm going to ask him what he wants. No, I'm gonna let them talk. I'm gonna listen, see kind of what kind of relationship they have. And remember, we're not great with people, so I'm going to let others do the talking for me. So his hands curl up into a fist at his side. I was wondering, specifically, if you had seen a falling star that landed here not long ago. I've seen nothing of the sort, dear Koro. Her lips close thinly. It seems that she's lying. I assume we're the falling star. What does he say, falling star? You had seen a falling star, yeah. What about your friends? He turns to you. I know most of the draft that scavenges the reef these days. It's a rare pleasure to see a new face. So, nice scars. What are those gloves for? Where did this star land? It wasn't a star. Truth, I can tell him the truth. I fell from the sky. There was no star. Deception, I'll be honest with you. I saw the star, but I don't know where it landed. You're in my way. Move, or I'll make you move. So, hostile thing there. I'm going to typically not start off with being hostile, but we'll say, where did this star land? Well, if I knew that, I wouldn't be reduced to harassing noble travelers. I never saw it, you see. My employer did and thought, who is the most trustworthy team I can send at a moment's notice? So it must have been visible from quite a ways away, and it's hard to know how long we were falling for, because if you remember, we in the very beginning, we had this sense of falling, and then we ended up in our mind space. So who knows if there is like a time warp that's going on and it took longer, because it sounds like it would take time for his employer to notice, and who knows, maybe he went to him in an hour, maybe he went in a day. It's hard to know what kind of time passed there and if there's any kind of time dilation going on between that mind space and this real world here that we have. So he winks. Luckily, they were on another assignment, and we were interested and weren't too drunk yet. So, nice scars. How'd you get them? Two things are more dangerous than death in this world, he says, his smile widening. Asking impolite questions of strangers and playing with Numenera you don't fully understand. My error was in the latter category, and I've grown more careful since. What are those gloves for? We're very curious, you see. Unwelcome but anticipated complications. He does not elaborate, so maybe some kind of combat item that he can use in combat. Callisteg. He does so love his ambushes, Callisteg whispers in your ear again, even though her mouth is closed and she isn't looking at you. He didn't have the gloves when I knew him last, but I'd wager they're connected to devices in the area. So, Koro says, apparently unaware of Callisteg's interruption. The star, have you seen it? Ask him what interests you about this star. How kind of you to ask, Koro says, clapping his gloved hands together. So few people are interested in the tangled motivations of paid explorers. He spreads his arms as if holding the sky and continues. The world is littered with ruins and fascinating secrets. Trouble is, anyone can claim them. But when something falls from the sky, that's a rarer, and a man can make his name off such a find. He pauses, then adds, we're also being paid quite handsomely. That helps. Enough chat, I think, he says, and there's no humor in his smile now. Where's the falling star? So, I think we're just going to tell him the truth, and I fell from the sky. Dominant tides changed. Legacy has shifted, so our silver tide raised a tiny amount. Koro, I thought so. To reward your honesty, I should be honest in return. You have two choices here. Both of them are dreadful. Hang on. There we are. He holds up a finger. First option. You surrender to us and we convey to you to my employer for, well, experimentation and dissection. Frankly, it's not pretty, but there it is. Holds up a second finger. Second option. We kill you and the old man, try not to kill Callisteg, and bring your body to our employers anyway. He winks at Callisteg. Apologies, sweetness. Allegorn. He whirls on Callisteg, his face tight with fury. You told him we were here, didn't you? You couldn't resist selling me out one more time. Are you really so paranoid? She sighs in exasperation. Darling, she says to Koro, take your thugs and go home. Otherwise, we'll have to rip you to pieces, and the world is already so untidy. Koro clenches his gloved fist, and a soft whistle pierces the air. What do you say, Fallen Star? Well, I'm not going anywhere with him, so... Silver tide raised a tiny amount. What a shame, Koro says, and then glances at his companions. Now, so, looks like there's a fight, I believe. Yes, crisis initiated. So our objective is to, okay, tutorial crisis. In a crisis, characters take their turns in sequence, shown at the top of the screen. So this is the turn order up here. That sequence is determined by each of the characters' initiative. You can improve this score by training the initiative skill. Not all encounters must be solved with muscle alone. Try using the Numenera artifacts nearby or talking directly to Koro. How you choose to solve this crisis is up to you, but there will be consequences to your actions. So our current objective is to... Okay, it's Koro's turn. Let's see what he... So he uses an ability, Flash. Looks like an area of effect. Alright, it's our turn, so let's look at our current objectives. Overcome Koro and his mercenaries, so we can use the glowing turret here, or purple energy to your advantage. So this here, or the turret. Talk to Koro with different party members. I think if we're going to try to talk to Koro, we might stick with Callisteg, since she knows him, and maybe she'll have ways of talking to him where she can be convincing. I'm interested in because he's a mercenary, I think it'll be interesting to try to talk him out of this fight. Maybe there will be some interactions later in the game that would be advantageous to us and that we could make use of. But quite frankly, if I gotta kill him, I gotta kill him. So it's my turn So we took some damage. It's not a lot. I am down 3 HP. And I think what I'm going to do... I don't know if I want to use this Cypher yet. I could. Yes. So there's the range. It shows us. I'm wondering if I can hit more, because that's kind of what I'm going for here. And where are they? So I'm going to right-click to cancel. If we hover over them, there's one. So we have Ixa, who appears to be... We can't see her stats. We can only see the derivatives of her stats. So she has 1 armor, so she's going to reduce physical damage, no spell resistance. Her evasion is a -5, so she has a low speed, it seems like, but her willpower is a +5, so an intelligent character, it seems like. Initiative is 0. What's our initiative? 0 as well. Vilnick, low health. So she has 21 health. He has 13. No armor, no resistance, -10 evasion, and no willpower. Very vulnerable, I would say. And he is way in the back here. Right here. Vilnick. Then we've got this thing here. This gate has disappeared. I'm wondering if Koro disabled that. And then we have Koro himself. He has 20 health, 1 armor, 1 resistance, no evasion, and a little bit of willpower. He has a high initiative compared to everyone else, initiative of 5. And then Gewin, 16 health, some resistance, evasion. Her initiative is 2. I think it's her. And she disappeared, I think. I don't see her anywhere. I saw her cast an ability. Temporary conditions that affect characters' stats and actions. So yes, hidden, 10% on 10% plus 10% on attacks. Cannot be directly targeted, removed by most actions, such as attacks and esotery. So if she takes an attack or casts a spell, then that will reveal her. And I think she moved probably somewhere over here, but we don't know. What happens if I examine this? So I'm going to try to make use of this. What happens if I examine it?
Yes.
There's a shallow depression in the surface here, like many others scattered around the construct. Unlike the others, energy still pulses across this one at random intervals. A slight yet implacable sense of unease emanates with each wave of energy. There is a loose lens at the center of the depression. You think it could redirect the psychic effect somewhere more useful, but it'll be tricky to get it in between the energy pulses. So this is good. It's using an ability that I'm proficient with. So it consumes my action, and it's the lore mystical ability and quick fingers. Redirect the lens to direct the psychic energy at your enemies. I'm going to do that. So with 1 effort of speed, I have a 75% chance. I want this to succeed. 95 is pretty high. It's unlikely I'll fail, so I'm going to do that. Success. With careful timing... Oh, they're all demoralized. It is easy to twist the lens into what is hopefully a more favorable position. The lens glows, warning of an impending energy pulse. The fields of energy extend outward and worms into eyes, ears, and mouths of Koro's team. Hope drains from their faces, replaced by a numb stare. Then the shallow depression becomes dark and dormant. Okay, so we had the effect, and let's see if we can... Okay, abilities. Alagern's body is covered in strange, shifting tattoos. He can use the Living Tattoo's ability to pluck a strand of ink from himself, granting him the Living Tattoo's Fettle. So, a buff in this case, I think. While the Fettle is active, he gains increasing bonuses by chaining together similar actions. Attacks, healing, applying other Fettles. If he uses a different kind of action, he breaks the chain and loses the Fettle. Ability does not use his move or his action, so he can activate it, then do something else. So that's pretty cool. So to use the ability, press the left mouse button on his icon in the ability bar above the party portraits. So I assume it's going to tell us about the order that we would need to do it in. I want to see if we can say anything about this debuff. So demoralized, active entire crisis. So it's going to be active for the rest of the crisis. So I'm glad we did that early. So that debuff is going to compound through the whole thing. So minus 20% willpower, very good. So they're going to be less likely to resist any spells that we cast. And minus 10% evasion and minus 15% on all tasks. So let's check out Alagern. And he has abilities. So Living Tattoos, Esoteric, so it's a type of spell, targets himself. So grants living tattoos while active, use similar actions, attacks, defenses, esoteric ciphers, or healing esoteric ciphers multiple turns in a row to chain increasing effects. Using a different kind of action breaks the chain and removes the fettle. When the chain reaches 4, the fettle is removed. Active entire crisis, no action required. Focus on ability. What is his might is 6, so that's kind of his. He's good at might, so why don't we focus on using him as our front line for the time being. I'm going to go after Ixa here. So, what else? He has Innervate, he has the heal, and he can hide as well. So we're not going to do the hide yet.
I hate using these things. Like stripping a memory.
So, his fettles are active. So, I think what we will do is we will just attack. And right now that's at 85. That's 100. We can do some more damage. We can probably, if we take her down that much, her or him. All right, let's do it. So we did that poison damage and that physical damage. Abilities. Callisteg is a dimensional husk who exists in multiple realities at the same time. She can use this transdimensional power to teleport between locations using her dimensional superposition abilities. So she can teleport around. Sounds really useful. I was very tempted to take that teleport for our character, but I didn't. I ended up going with the mind reading and the heal. Teleporting uses her move instead of her action, so she can activate it and do something else. So she's going to be able to teleport around. Let's make use of that. So teleport to a point within range, then gain phased, converts all damage to transdimensional, and grants 30% evasion, 3% plus 3 resistance, except transdimensional damage to this character. Dealt to this character is plus 100%. So it grants it, apparently. So converts all damage, all of her damage, to transdimensional, and grants 30% evasion, 3 resistance, except okay, so I don't. Except transdimensional damage dealt to this character is 100%. Okay, so the resistance does not grant resistance to transdimensional damage when we're phased, and I believe we take 100% additional, so it doubles transdimensional damage, so we would want to avoid that. So let's use it, and we're going to get in behind this. Okay, we can't go that far. That's unfortunate. It looks like there's a limit to how far we can go. So I'm going to get actually over here. No, I do want to talk to Koro. Maybe I'll do that.
Collapse into a single reality.
So I'm going to try to talk to him and see what happens. Take them down, Koro shouts to his colleagues. We need that falling star. Me, apparently. So I can consume my action and try to persuade him. Tell him he's going to get him and his friends killed. Alright, so we need to use our pool. I'm going to make my best effort at 75%. Ooh, success. Koro, dear, this is foolishness. Your employers cannot have paid you enough to fight a regenerative cast-off and me. I guess I'm just swinging this stick for fun over here. Surely you're clever enough to know your life is not worth this risk. Koro studies you and your companions with new eyes. You can almost see the fight go out of him. You might be right about that, Cal. He shouts to his colleagues. We weren't paid enough for a fight to the death. Let's leave these explorers to their own. So I can read his thoughts. Let's see. I'll tell Salamari the star landed in the bay. She can't get mad at me for that. So Salamari, I guess, is his employer, we're going to assume. And he doesn't want to come back empty-handed. So, but it sounds like he is a little bit scared of her. He's not getting paid as well. So interesting, we got 100 experience. That's quite a bit. I don't know if that'll be quite enough to level up. We'll go check. I don't remember quite what we were at. So We got through this without killing anyone, so we'll see what kind of consequences that has later on in the game. I suspect that we will meet them again. Away he goes. Okay, and the fences are back. I wonder if the Alagern crosses his arms. Well, isn't that convenient? So still distrusting of Callisteg. Says, I knew I couldn't trust Callisteg. This is the last time I make that mistake. Excuse me, are you suggesting I had something to do with Koro's plans? She says, oh, I cannot abide by his rabid paranoia a moment longer. So these are her internal thoughts, and in this case, it sounds like she had nothing to do with it. We didn't know for sure. I didn't suspect that she did, but he obviously thinks that she did from some past betrayal that he at least has in his mind that she committed. We don't know what actually happened, but it sounds like she didn't have anything to do with it. Are you suggesting you didn't? An old friend of yours just happens to be waiting for us, armed and outnumbering us, as we return from the greatest find the Reef has seen in years? It's too convenient for me. Too convenient by far. I convinced him to leave us alone. It's true. Actually, it's a good point. Of course you did, after you saw your plan wasn't going to work. He throws up a hand, forestalling Callisteg's retort. Look, I don't care. Fact is, I can't trust you anymore, and I wonder why I ever did. This is the last we travel together. I've got enough to worry about without having to watch my back 28 hours a day. Seems that a day is 28 hours, not 24. Turns to you. You coming, kid, or what? And I can say, I don't really think she was trying to betray us. It was a little convenient, or you're going to walk away from each other over this. So I don't think she was trying to betray us. I can read her thoughts, and it makes sense, because she did try to convince them to leave. And she had, she didn't have a reason not to. She would have gotten out of that fight alive if she had set it up. So I don't think she was trying to betray us. He snorts bitter laughter. I do. You haven't seen 1/10 of her depths, not 1/20. She's a backstabbing bitch, mark my words. You're insufferable to the end, Alagern. Looking for the worst in a situation is the only way you know to see. Do you know how long I've carried your pain for you? How much I've had to turn away from your judgmental stares? But you're right. I've had enough. She turns to you. Child, I'm happy to guide you, but I will not walk another step with this paranoid buffoon. Finally, something we agree on, growls. Kid, she'll chop off your head and spit down your throat. I'll get you where you need to go and let you sleep at night to boot. It's up to you. So, in our interactions, I do think that Alagern is paranoid, and this is a good example of his paranoia. And I'm not a big fan of the cult. I think that we'll learn more about them, and we may end up having to go to them eventually. And I'm not sure if we're going to lock in our choice at this point by choosing our companion. But what we'll do is, I think I'm going to choose to go with Callisteg. And it's a little unfortunate in terms of party balance, in terms of the metagame. We're both kind of mage-type characters, so it could present some difficulties. But I like to make choices based on what my character is thinking and what I'm thinking as well. And I think that I'm going to go with her because I just feel like she's a little more stable, and she doesn't have this chip on her shoulder like he does. And I don't think she's going to betray me, and I don't think she had anything to do with this ambush because I was able to scan her thoughts. So that makes a difference in my decision. If I wasn't able to do so, I might be more uncertain about what I wanted to do. I'm going to ask if I can travel with both of you. Can't you just work it out? She bursts out laughing. My dear boy, we have been working it out. We have been working it out, she says. Alagern's petulance, his obstinacy in the face of fact drive me away every day. He might be strong, but he's also thick. I dare you to try traveling with him and see how long you endure. Not as long as I have, I'll wager. It's true, he does seem fairly obstinate. His face darkens under her accusations, but he manages a pained smile. As if you're doing me a favor by staying with me? Do you think I don't see your true self in all those echoes around you? That's you, Callisteg, every facet of it. Your vivisectionist heart hasn't changed, just the way you present it. I thought I could help you, but... So, it does sound like she was a vivisectionist and has chopped up some people in the past. So that's a little weird, but we don't know any details. But they both have issues. And there's both things that I don't trust about either of them. But I think I'll stick with her for now. I'm gonna go with Callisteg, and maybe I shouldn't go with either of them when it comes down to it. But I'm a little worried about my safety if I go alone, and I want to learn more from her. And they both seem knowledgeable. But I'm going to go with her because I'm going to go with the Order of Truth, and we'll see what happens when we meet up with them. Alagern. Right, well, if you want me and she doesn't sell you for parts, you can find me in the underbelly, but not with her, mind you. So we can choose to meet back up with him later, and maybe we'll end up doing that. We'll see how our experience with Callisteg goes. He thinks she'll sell you for parts first chance forget it. It's his choice, not my problem. I'll let you know what you've missed, Alagern. I'm sure you won't be missed. Won't be. Missed, that is. She links her arm possessively into yours. Let's go, child. So that's a little concerning. She might just be, feeling good that she kind of won in the spat between her and Alagern, but we do have to be worried because, she has something to gain by being with us, and it appears that others are seeking us as well. So we don't know how easily she can be bribed or bought, or if there would be anything that she would be willing to trade for us. So this might be something that we need to watch out for, but we'll have to see. She was worried about us earlier in terms of what she thought Alagern might do with us. He was worried about the same thing, but if she was worried for our well-being, I don't know if that was for a selfish motivation, but I doubt it. So we'll see what happens. We have a world to conquer. So, more tutorial. Now that you've dealt with Koro and his goons, you can continue on to the city of Sagus Cliffs. To reach the city, cross the bridge at the north end of the platform. Okay, great. So that would be right here, and we'll go to the city after that. So I'm going to take a quick look around here. I don't see anything that we can loot. Just some stuff we can look at. A sickly green crust scabs over numerous cracks and divots in this turret. So these turrets aren't active, just this one here. I don't think we're going to do anything with that turret. I think it was intended for the combat if we continue to fight. But that fight was over pretty quickly. We were able to convince Koro with Callisteg, dumping in that effort to leave the fight. And maybe we'll see him and his goons in the future. So I think that's where we're going to leave the stream for now. Thank you for joining me, and we will be back when I get an opportunity to do so. So thanks for joining or watching if you did, and have a great Saturday.